Robert, okay, thanks for joining me today. And, we're going to get through quite a bit today, but I first discovered you from the blindfoldedsite.com website. But before we get into that, could you just tell me your journey on how you got to be where you got to be today, which is really all this esoteric, the remote viewing, the blindfolded, reading blindfolded, the astral stuff. How did you get there today, to this point?
Right. It started with, I guess I had seen UFOs, when I was younger. I was camping one time with my family, and I looked up and I saw these couple stars that were, making right angles and disappearing and reappearing. So I grabbed my stepsister and I was like, am I seeing things, or is this actually happening? And she's like, oh yeah. And we sat there and we watched them for like 5 minutes. And I feel like at that point I was like, all right, well, aliens are real. There's some guy who said, there's as many habitable planets in the galaxy as there are grains of sand on Earth.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
so it's almost improbable that we would be the only thing.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, I got into Stephen Greer and I learned about, his whole thing, which introduced me to remote viewing, how he would call in ships, and how communication across the universe would have to be faster than the speed of light.
Right.
And so he ended up explaining it was like a quanta of thought. And how remote viewing works is like, apparently, all points in space and time are one. So you can have access to hearing, smelling, tasting, anything, anywhere in the
Right.
planet at any time.
Right.
Like it.
It's Stephen Greer. He works with David Wilcock, doesn't he? Is that correct? Does he?
Um,
Is he?
David Wilcock is like the ancient aliens guy, or with
Right.
the megaliths or what have you.
Okay.
I think they've worked together before.
Yeah.
Stephen Greer, I think it came after I watched his Disclosure,
Right.
or maybe it was the CE5 documentary, and he had like, I don't know, maybe 60 million views or something. Then YouTube was like removing his views to try to rank it down, or
Right.
there was some other controversy going there where,
Right.
I don't know. I feel like this whole third eye remote viewing stuff is like, it has to be suppressed knowledge.
Yeah.
Like you look at the Vatican, and the largest statue that they've got is, a pine cone
Yeah.
over in the court of the pine cone.
Yeah.
And it's like, is there any explanation to that?
Yeah.
Yes, but they won't mention it.
No. 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 Of course not. And so you got into all of that, which we'll talk about later. But then, what prompted you to get into the blindfoldedsite.com thing? Where you share your experiences, and you've got these videos and these courses on how to see. I guess with your conscious mind is the way of putting it. How did you get into that? I mean, many people would see it as just another extension of whatever it is you're doing. Is it another form of consciousness? And how different is it to remote viewing?
So remote viewing, anyone, like when I first learned about remote viewing, I ended up researching, Russell Targ, and I
Yeah.
found out as many legitimate sources of remote viewing as I could, so I followed and I tried to look up Pat Price and Ingo Swann and all these other people that worked in the CIA. And because they spent millions of dollars for over 20 years. So it has to be, there's got to be some legitimacy to it if
Yeah.
they're throwing everything, all these resources at it. And I ended up, Russell Targ mentioned a couple books. I got a couple Buddhist books. One was Nagarjuna's The Path of the Middle Way. Shoot, I don't even remember it, but I still need to read it.
Right.
But a lot of Buddhist books and Hindu books, and I started finding the remote viewing referenced everywhere. You learn Akashic records, and I found, Mark Komisarov, which 20 years ago almost is like the pioneer of this whole thing. He's the one who, well, it's funny because at the same time the Zalesnik brothers went over to Indonesia in 2000, just the same time that Mark, I think he created his patent in 2000, I'm not sure. But it's crazy how And then this other documentary just came out about these other people going around and finding everyone who's able to see without their
Yeah.
eyes. There's in Serbia, Romania, Germany, Australia, you
India.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
India. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I had to find out more, and I kept researching. And I really liked Mark Komisarov's stuff because he pioneered it. He was like, I figured out, or he met someone. One of his friends in Russia was teaching kids how to see without their eyes, and he kind of realized it was life changing, and
Yeah.
ran with it as well. And it's nuts the stuff that they're able to find out. Like, not only can you develop your sight like to completely 100%, but you can gather information off of any storage device. Like, you can hold a DVD and you can watch and hear the DVD inside your mind.
Right.
Like, you can go through the deleted scenes or the extra features. Like, you can go through the menus of that device.
Yeah.
And I don't know how, but it happens. And it's very real. And I don't know why there's not more schools. Like, and it's interesting. There's two different methods, The MPUSA guys do it completely differently than Mark Komisarov. There's Mark Komisarov focuses mainly on intention. So you would like go completely silent, let all of your thoughts out of your mind, information to come in, because you should to access all information without any media source, secondary sense to kind of get that information. And then the MPUSA guys, they use like energy work, and that's why I'm in Utah right now. I'm trying to go there and learn more energy work. They want you to do at least 3 months of like the Merpati Puti move.
Right. Oops.
Because Mark Komisarov is like,
Yep. Sorry.
Right. So Mark Komisarov is like, going quiet and asking a question, and then the MPUSA guys are all about just feeling the vibration of energy, because it's like less than 1% of what we see is on the light spectrum, or we only see less than 1% of the light spectrum, and everything is constantly in motion and emitting, electromagnetic or radioactive waves.
Right.
The Merpati Puti guys focus on gathering the information through their hand, but if you go to the Mark Komisarov, they focus on gathering the information just through your nervous system. They find that the sight may appear in your nose or around your temples or on your forehead.
Right.
Wherever you may like project that beam. I don't know. It's interesting trying to figure out how it works. Mark tried to see it as like it's an infinite field that kind of envelops everything. And as soon as you do something, that information is uploaded to this field. And you could also call it the Akashic record.
Right.
Back at it and see exactly, they could hear and see and smell and basically be in the room. But I don't know, there's different levels. Like when you look at Russell Targan stuff, there's astral projection where he would say you can leave, and they would go to the Kremlin and they would be able to turn on lights and stuff and open boxes. And I haven't gotten too much into astral projection. I'm really trying to focus on the blindfolded sight, because I realized that kids were able to learn it really, picked it up in like 3 minutes. And I was like, okay, I found these people who had 6 kids, and I was like, well, I could probably, try to test my theories and see what works and see what doesn't, and see if everything is real, because no one believed me, No. I feel like this is hidden knowledge that no one knows about, and everyone can develop it really quickly if they actively work on it or if they start young.
Right.
Because, I guess the older you are, the harder it is to learn, the longer it takes.
Do you think that the age does make a difference, in the sense that, like I'm somebody that really is open-minded. I don't believe in the idea that age can be inhibitive to what we want to do, because there's still a lot of the child in me, so there's still a lot of this desire to do
Right.
things. So I've never. It's a bit the same. Like people work all their life to get to 65 to retire. To me, that's the craziest thing to do. To do that because you're setting your whole life up for this big downfall at 65. So none of this comes into the equation with me. I just keep going and keep going. I don't worry about age, time. If I want to work Sunday, I will. If I want to work through the night, I will. So I've got this really open mind, and I believe that despite all the good experiences and bad experiences I've had through life, I could learn this pretty quick if I knuckle down to it. I signed up for one of your courses, and I got through. It was the one to do with colour, learning to see colour. And so I noticed that when I'd done the meditation, this breathing meditation, not only did I say successful, that's a bit ambitious. It was too early to say successful, but what I could do, and it could be my sixth sense, because after I put the blindfolds on, and I could go straight to my coffee cup without fumbling. I just knew where it was. And there was something else, I have like a euro coin on the table, and blindfolded, I knew exactly where it was. And also, you spoke about seeing if you can see your hands. And with the blindfold on, I couldn't actually see it as though it was with my eyes open, but I could clearly define shapes, almost like silhouette. Now, I had blindfold on and a mask over that. There's no way I could let any light in to see this, but I could clearly see when I was doing this and doing this as well. And that was just in like a couple of days of me working through your meditations. So I've spoken a lot there and I've forgotten what the question was, but okay, it's that easy. If I can achieve that much in such a short space of time and through the believing process, then I think anyone can, and age should not be a thing to prevent you. Would that be a fair thing?
Yeah, I mean, I I do notice that kids learn a lot quicker than I do. If I'll have them help me practice, and then I'll practice with them and stuff.
Yeah.
And I wonder why, like Mark would say, it has to do with our belief system. Like you had said, you're already open-minded, which should allow it to, like in the other documentary that just came out.
Superhuman.
It's not necessarily believing, but you have to believe it in order
Yeah.
to allow your brain to start actively working to create those new connections and to pick up that information and use it,
Yeah.
We've all seen the picture of like a calcified pineal gland.
Yeah.
And I wonder about, is that like super legitimate? I don't know how much, like, I don't really worry about fluoride in my water. I don't know how much I could hold that. I'm sure I don't have a reverse osmosis.
Right.
I don't know. But maybe that's an effect, they'd say that kids learn it super quick when they're at the age of 6, is because they're supposed to listen to everything their parents say.
Yeah.
And take it 100%. Like, they're not supposed to question it
Sure.
at all, because it comes down to survival. Like, then again, kids always do their own thing. You got to tell them multiple times anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think anyone can learn it, and I don't know why it would take people longer, but we've got to get some schools started.
Yeah.
If we get people learning, like all of the immersion programs, they do like 4-5 hours a day for 4 to 5 days. Putting in the time.
Yeah.
I think that would be an ultimate goal for me, is to open up a school and to start teaching more people because if you can intuitively like just know which way to go, or like
Yeah.
know what's understanding of right and could really raise the entire global consciousness of the planet, and
Right.
maybe even get rid of war.
Yeah.
Like if everyone realized like we're all connected, we're all one, like we share a consciousness in a weird sense.
Yeah.
Some, not really. I don't know.
Yeah.
Mark described it as, and I mentioned this in one of the videos, is like a glass vial. That's like, we are the ocean. The ocean and put a little, likes to think of it as the glass aura.
Right.
Aura is almost like a separating force from you and source. And when your aura is broken, your glass vial or your body dies, then you drain back into the ocean and become one with the ocean. And
Yeah.
any place in the ocean can say, like, I am the ocean.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, what I can tell you from my experience, just going back to the meditations I've done, the breathing technique that you teach us, I couldn't get to hold my breath for a minute and a half, although I'm getting there.
It's kind of hard, yeah.
But what I did,
Yeah, Wim Hof does it for
Yeah.
like 2.5 minutes.
yeah, it's incredible. But what I did notice is the point that you were saying about when you let your breath out, you don't have to breathe because you've still got plenty of oxygen in your lungs. And when I was aware of that, that made it easier. And when I distracted my mind from something, instead of tuning into the fear of, oh my God, I'm running out of breath, it tended to make me just go on a little bit longer. So there's a lot of to do with the mind there. And even in this short period that I've been doing it, that meditation, that sort of breath work has connected me with spirit a lot easier and a lot quicker now, and a better connection as well. So yeah, it's there's a lot more going on than just remote viewing, learning to see with your conscious mind rather than your eyes. There's a lot more. I think they mentioned it in the program of the documentary Superhuman. It is like we're all connected here as one. We're all connected with the field of everything that was, is, and will be. And so therefore, why shouldn't we be connected? It's really should be that simple. So the breathing was something that I found was most beneficial for other areas of life. As a medium, I found that since I did a reading the other day, I was able to get a more profound reading. I was able to produce names, which is quite difficult when you're trying to connect with spirit to give evidence. I found I was able to do that. Lots of other tiny changes in such a short period of time. I guess my dreams have always been lucid. I'll have to check on that to see if they're any more lucid. But is the breathing one of the keys to the success of? It doesn't matter if it's learning to read blindfold, but trying to do astral projection, communication with spirit. Breathing also, I feel, can decalcify the pineal gland if we do this correctly as well. If you could just give me your thoughts on that, because there was something else I wanted to ask you after about the mind and the consciousness after the meditation.
Right. I mean, it's interesting. I was reading Autobiography of a Yogi, and they mention a lot of, like, I've heard other people call the Wim Hof breathing like yogic breathing as well. And it's, they reference like an excess amount of oxygen in the system is converted into prana or life energy,
Uh-huh.
And I don't know. They looked at the science with Wim Hof, and they hooked him up to a bunch of machines. Like, he's over here breaking like 30 world records,
Right.
spending the most time under the ice or running a marathon through a desert without any water. And he's like, well, what's different about me? And there was this really interesting study they did with the E. coli, and there were like 16,400 people before Wim Hof that had been injected, just to see
Right.
if anyone had some kind of immunity. And he was the only one who was able to, beat the virus with very limited symptoms. And they're like, how E. coli? Like, everyone else got super sick except you. And then they took his blood out and they put it in a petri dish. And, this is after he did his breathing. And and the E. coli still died after they put it into the petri dish. And it's interesting because apparently, what he says is you're alkalizing your blood and you're, finding brain coherence.
Right.
Like, I think they were able to put, brain scans up, and they were able to see that his whole brain was able to light up when he intentionally
Wow.
did this. Yeah. And it's like, of course, we would want more coherence and more communication with our brain. We want it all to work together. And you look at like Joe Dispenza. I just finished his book, Becoming Superhuman.
Right.
And he talks a lot about how, brain coherence is incredibly important because it allows us to tap into more of our abilities. And you have to be, you have to find heart coherence, and you have to be in happy, joyful, compassionate emotions. Because when you're in like stressful emotions, or when you're, angry, it causes your brain to fire incoherently. And
Right.
like with anger, especially, like
Yeah.
you literally drop IQ when you get angry.
Right.
You become very narrow-minded, parts of your brain shut off. Like, you cannot think
Right.
as well as you could if you were calm and collected and your brain was working more cohesively and more, holistically.
Right.
So I think that when I found out about his breathing, it did allow me to find light, and I was able to see all kinds of different colors, and I was able to just connect more deeply within myself. And so I thought that was important to include, because it's just powerful. If you can get your brain to work together and be more coherent,
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like that'll help whatever you're trying to do.
Right. But do you feel you're a person that can switch off? I call it the monkey mind, that can work with the higher self anyway, or from the heart energy, or are you constantly fighting your rational mind, which doesn't necessarily want what's best for you? It just wants to keep things as it is, and that's the most
Right.
difficult thing we got to overcome when we're trying to see and read when we're blindfolded. That rational mind.
Yeah, you have to get past yourself, definitely.
Yeah.
I think I'm starting to try to incorporate that more. Like, when I moved to Utah, it's a very Mormon state. Everyone here is super Republican, and I'm very liberal. And the first person I called, dude's like, I'm gonna be waving the Confederate flag out front. He's like, I don't know how you feel about that. And my initial response was like, all right, well, thanks. Maybe this won't work. But then, he seemed like a nice guy, and I'm like, I shouldn't let my ego get in the way of, potentially
Right.
learning or going and finding, and discovering stuff. And they're nice people, and you realize just everyone has they were raised differently. They've all been through different experiences, which shapes how they view the world. And so you can't get mad at people for, I don't know. You got to change the soil, not the person,
Yeah.
or change the soil, not the flower.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not that I'm trying to change anything, but
No,
I just don't
no,
want to
no.
judge anyone. And I feel like I can't already assume that this person is, super mean or whatever, and when they aren't, and they're actually, good people.
Yeah.
I don't know, but that's just not letting your ego. And that was, me trying to work from my heart and trying to be like,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how this is going to be, but I have a feeling that I should do it.
Right. Well, just moving on just a little bit. I mean, we'll wrap this up pretty soon. But I was super impressed after that meditation in the course that I took up with you, of how I could shift the chi, the energy in the hands, through the mind alone. Because
Right.
in our healing evenings, which is tomorrow, we do some exercises after meditation doing this, and we do this and we feel the polarity, and we can feel, you know, if we do this with our hands, we can feel it pulsing against the other hand. But I had my hands like this and my eyes closed, and I imagined with the energy just going up and down on this hand. Then I imagined it
Mm-hmm.
going across, and then I even done it at 45 degrees, and then I bounced it backwards and forwards, and I just had my hands there, and I didn't even look. I had my blindfold on, and I just looked straight in front of me, but with pure intention, was just bouncing it along. And I've got to say, it was really was quite fun, and quite cool actually as well. If I be that's my ego speaking, by the way. But yes, and as you stated, you know, if does it get stronger when you do it more and more? And yes, it does get stronger when you do it more and more. So yeah, I mean, I just wanted to throw that out there with you. Is there any other little tricks we can do with this chi if we get more advanced?
Well, like the Merpati Putti place that I'm about to go to, they want you to do these certain movements twice a day for
Right.
3 months before you develop your energy. And what's really cool is they do have videos of people, and I've spoken to them there. They actually do like telekinesis with their energy.
Right.
So you can do, I mean, and it is, once you develop your energy, we've read it all over the world. These people couldn't have been lying in
No.
92 different places having the same story. Like, but, so yeah, you should be able to start fires and, you know, move water, control air.
Yeah.
You should be able to,
Yeah.
I don't know, there has to be a telepathic aspect to it. I mean, when I read Autobiography of a Yogi, for some reason I feel like everything in there is true.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was like a little bit of an inspiration to be like, yeah, we are infinite beings. Like, there is so much more possible than we believe. Like, let's go and discover it. Let's not just read about it. Like,
Yeah.
let's try to do this.
Yeah. 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 No, I quite agree.
What was I saying? Oh yeah, I feel like Industrial Revolution really distracted us. Everything's been kept secret.
Yeah.
But now that we have the internet, like, you can't hold information back anymore. It's going to get out. Everyone's going to learn, and it just has to come to people believing. And at this point, I feel like it's going to be a misinformation age,
Yeah.
an era.
Yeah.
And that's going to be tough. And that's why we need the intuition, so
Yeah.
people can have like an intuitive sense of like what is
Yeah.
right, what is wrong, you know, what is false, or
Yeah.
because that'll make a huge difference. People just have a little bit better of a feeling of like what's going on, even
Yeah.
if they can't explain it. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I think consciousness has raised a little bit, even more so over the last few months. Whatever the cause of the global circumstance at the moment, whatever it is, has raised people's consciousness. Because I think people got fed up for the most part living in fear. And once the global consciousness raises, I also believe that the healing angels, the galactic brothers and sisters, can help us a bit more. They can get more closer to our vibration. So, you know, everything is, in my opinion, is happening as it should, at the right time, at the right place. That's for me. What do you feel?
yeah, I mean, you know, I feel like this whole universe is like trying to figure itself out and constantly changing. And, you know, I feel like there is no right or wrong unless we decide it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the universe is like made of love, you know, all atoms, everything only works because it's working together.
Yeah.
Like, so that has to be the basis of everything.
Yeah.
But we have this amount of free will. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, despite everything we see going on around us, I feel that we are moving into the love energy a lot more. And, you know, with the work that I do and the work that you do, I think we're going to see an explosion of this kind of stuff soon. It'll be, the only way I can liken it to is, I mean, I said this a long time ago, that they will not be able to keep marijuana illegal forever. And once it opens up in the first place, you won't be able to stop that rollout of marijuana. And when you think of it, just talking to marijuana, isn't it the most ridiculous thing that a natural plant such as marijuana or cannabis is banned? I mean,
Right.
you know, and
Yeah, alcohol is worse.
yeah, alcohol's worse. And actually, you know, spraying your crops with pesticides and poisons is even more ridiculous thing. But I think we're getting over all this now. There's something in the energy, something in the air. You will know this because of your intuition, and there's nothing you can say or write about that tells you what is going to happen. Just change is happening. Evolution is moving forward at a very, very fast rate there for those that want it. Those that don't want it are going to be left behind, unfortunately. They'll have an existence, I feel, but it'll be a meager one. The ones that are embracing this new concept that you are teaching, not just in the blindfolded site, but, you know, astral projection, remote viewing, communication with spirit or intuition or whatever, it's exploding right now, and it is that ripple. It can't be stopped now.
There's too many verifiable methods now. Like you can actually verify and test and like be like, no, this is real.
Yeah.
It's not who, you know, I used to think it was, I don't know, but the more research you do, the more you learn, and then I just have to see as many sources as I can, and I've got to try to test it all, and you know, do my own experiments and all this stuff.
Yeah. Well, you know, there was a documentary called "In the Beginning There Was Light," and I'm a sun gazer. I look at the sun at sunrise and sunset. I don't get enough sun here in Austria to get to the holy grail of not being able to eat. But even if I got there, I would still eat because I enjoy eating, but I wouldn't have the need for it. But it did show some of these people, not only in India, but in the United States, that did reach the 45 minutes of staring at the sun. And with vigorous tests, one guy, they locked him away and had him followed all the time and said, if I find you cheating, then I'm going to disgrace you. And they couldn't understand how he could live on light alone, which obviously he could. And it does seem a little bit crazy if you haven't been there or understand that concept. So this is another aspect of the work we do, sun gazing. I mean, they want to try and call it some worshipping, like you're worshipping some false god or something. It's not that. You're taking
in energy.
Taking in energy, yeah. And it's really quite relaxing if you do it at sunrise and sunset, and there's no UV rays for that first hour. So look, we sort of come to the end of our time. Is there anything you wanted to add to this?
I don't know. Let's change the world. Let's get the word out there. You know, let's let people know and try to wake people up and create a future that we all want to live in.
Brilliant. Yeah.
It's truly amazing.
Yeah. And you can be found at blindfoldedsite.com. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah. blindfoldedsite.com. I think I've got a Facebook page.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just go to my website. Everything's on the website.
Everything's